Did you know the world's most restricted country has more cosmetic surgeries than all of Europe? In a country where showing skin is taboo, people are changing the very shape of their faces. What makes a wife in Iran choose a second wife for her husband? That's crazy, but it's true. Iran. Just the name might bring to mind veiled women, strict rules, and a faraway land you're told to fear. But what if I told you that behind the fabric, there's something else? And that's only the beginning. So settle in, and let's travel together through the heart of a country that has surprised even the wisest of wanderers. These are the 15 mind-blowing facts about Iran. And by the end, you might not see the world the same way again. 15. Fire and snow, Iran's untamed beauty. Imagine a country where snow-capped mountains stretch like ancient walls, surrounding deserts so fierce that even the earth itself seems to boil. This is Iran, a land carved by time, guarded by mountains, and scorched by sun. Iran is like a natural fortress built to both protect and challenge the people within it. The Dasht-e-Lut, the Lut Desert. It is not just hot, it is the hottest surface on Earth ever recorded. At one point, NASA satellites detected ground temperatures soaring to over 177 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not air temperature, that's the heat of the Earth beneath your feet. A heat so brutal it can kill in minutes. How can anyone survive such a place? They don't, not really. There are no cities, no farms, almost no plants. And yet even here, there is something sacred. Hidden beneath the silence are ancient footprints, 87 archaeological sites scattered across these sands, whispering stories of people who once dared to live where no one should. UNESCO has called it a world treasure, a raw and untamed echo of our earliest human steps. Iran is home to over 86 million people. That's more than double the population of California, America's most populated state. From Persian to Kurdish to Azeri, and with more than 70 languages and dialects spoken across the country, this land is not just diverse in landscape. It is alive with voices, cultures, and traditions that have withstood both nature and empire. What kind of people are shaped by snow at their borders and fire at their feet? Let's explore that question in the next part of this travel documentary. 14. Love's unlikely choice. Wives pick wives. Deep in the southern mountains of Iran, far from the noise of city streets and the glow of neon signs, lives a people who still move with the seasons. The Qashqai tribe has roamed these lands for centuries, herding livestock and carrying stories on their backs like heirlooms. But among their many customs, one stands out. And it's something few in the modern world would ever expect. In the Qashqai way of life, a man is not allowed to take a second wife unless his first wife agrees. And more than that, she is the one who must choose a second wife for him. Often it happens when a couple cannot have children, but it's not bitterness that drives this custom. It is a kind of loyalty, a sense that family comes before pride. Here, living alone is seen as unnatural, almost selfish. Everyone is expected to belong to someone, to something, to a shared purpose. It is not about individual freedom, it's about survival, about lineage, about the herd. But the modern world creeps closer every year. Cities whisper promises of freedom, but they take more than they give. The younger ones are leaving, not out of rebellion, but confusion. And the elders know, when the last storyteller is gone, who will remember what it meant to live by the wind and not by the clock? But let me ask you something. If this tradition existed in your country, in your own culture, do you think your wife would ever choose a second wife for you? Not out of jealousy, but out of duty, or even love. And more curiously, would you accept it? 13. Love with an expiration date. In many places, love is messy. In Iran, it can also be legal, timed, and signed in ink. It's called sighe, temporary marriage. And it's not a scandal whispered in alleyways. It's approved by religious law, supported by the government, and deeply embedded in the culture. For a few days, a few months, or even just an afternoon, a man and a woman can enter into a sacred contract. They go to a mosque, recite verses, and leave as husband and wife. But only for the time they've agreed upon. There's no hiding, no shame, no violation of law. Some see it as a solution, a way for young people who can't afford traditional marriage to find emotional companionship without breaking religious codes. In a country where nearly 2/3 of the population is under 25 and economic pressures are heavy, sighe offers relief, at least on the surface. But beneath the paper lies something more fragile. Children born from these unions often don't know who their father is. Women can face stigma, isolation, or even abandonment. And while the contract may protect them legally, it rarely protects them emotionally. Some men use sighe to avoid long-term commitment. Others use it to justify desire while leaving behind responsibility. 12. Oil, gas, and grit, Iran's hidden power. Beneath the dusty plains and mountain shadows of Iran lies a power few nations can match. The country holds the third largest oil reserves on Earth, over 200 billion barrels. Its natural gas supplies are even more vast, second only to Russia. Every day, millions of barrels are drawn from the ground, fueling cities, heating homes, and keeping the economy alive. In 2022 alone, Iran's oil production was worth more than $115 billion. That's not just fuel, that's lifeblood, money that feeds families, builds infrastructure, and props up a country often isolated by the world. And yet, every barrel is also a bargain with time. Fossil fuels bring wealth, but at a cost. Pollution, political tension, environmental decay. They all rise with every pipeline laid. Iran knows this. Quietly, steadily, it's shifting. Solar panels glint in desert sunlight. Wind farms turn along mountain ridges. Renewable energy now makes up 6% of the nation's electricity. Not much yet, but a signal, a promise, maybe even a hope. And maybe that's the real secret. Despite being under US sanctions since 1979, Iran has managed to grow, adapt, and build, not just in silence, but with surprising strength and quiet determination. If you've stayed with us this far, thank you. These stories take time to tell, and your time means everything. Your support helps us bring more of the world's quiet wonders to light, and we'd love to have you with us for the next one. 11. Behind the Veil, a silent transformation. When you think of the world's beauty capital, the land of cosmetic surgery, your mind probably goes straight to South Korea, and who could blame you? But after hearing this next fact, you just might have to think again. In a country where many women must cover their hair, and often their faces, you might not expect beauty to be a public obsession. But Iran, quietly, and perhaps paradoxically, leads Asia in nose surgeries. Every year, tens of thousands of Iranians, men and women alike, go under the knife, not in secret, but openly, proudly. What does beauty really mean in a land where the face is often hidden, but still so fiercely sculpted? For many, it's a badge of status, confidence, even rebellion. A bandage on the nose is no longer something to hide. It's become a kind of signal. I can afford this, or I care how I'm seen. In a place where modesty is mandated, the nose has become the canvas for self-expression. Cosmetic clinics flourish in cities like Tehran and Shiraz. Prices are lower than in the West, but the results are world-class. Some people even fly to Iran for what's now called medical beauty tourism. Behind the scenes, the West's idea of beauty, small, sharp, symmetrical, has taken root. quietly, perceptibly. And it's reshaping more than just faces. It's reshaping identities. 10. Red gold, the spice that costs a fortune. What if the most expensive flavor in the world came from the humblest hands? They call it red gold, not because it glitters, but because it's so rare, so delicate, and so demanding that it might as well be priceless. Saffron, the world's most expensive spice by weight, finds its heartland in Iran. Here, amid dry winds and quiet villages, families rise before dawn to gather the first blooms of the fragile crocus flower. Each flower holds just 3 red threads, the part we know as saffron. To make a single kilogram, farmers must hand-pick over 11,000 blossoms. There are no machines, no shortcuts, just careful fingers, tired backs, and years of tradition passed down in silence. The harvest lasts only a few short weeks each year, and timing is everything. Miss a day, and the petals wilt. Harvest too late, and the color fades. And yet, through blistered hands and aching knees, Iranian farmers keep at it, not just for money, but for pride. For them, saffron isn't just a crop, it's a legacy. Today, 1 kilogram of high-grade Iranian saffron can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, depending on purity and origin. You'll find it in specialty spice markets, gourmet stores, and online platforms, often in tiny glass jars, just 1 gram at a time. You can even find pure Iranian saffron on sites like Amazon or at Middle Eastern shops in cities like Los Angeles, London, or Paris. This is the flavor found in royal dishes, exotic teas, and high-end perfumes. But before it touches silver spoons or silk scarves, it begins in cold soil, dug, plucked, and dried by those who may never taste it themselves. 9. Kindness in crisis. Iran's refugee haven. You may think of Iran as closed off, even isolated, but history tells a different story, one of quiet compassion, even in the hardest of times. In the 1940s, while much of the world turned its back, Iran opened its borders to thousands of Jewish refugees escaping the horrors of Nazi Germany. These families, desperate and displaced, found not just safety, but kindness, warm food, shelter, and a place to begin again. And Iran, though poor and facing its own struggles, gave what it had. That same spirit lives on today. Iran now hosts over 800,000 registered refugees, mostly from Afghanistan and Iraq, and possibly more than 1 million undocumented ones. These aren't just numbers. They're families trying to survive in a land already burdened by sanctions and economic hardship. But kindness doesn't come without a price. Between 3 and 7 million children in Iran. Many of them are refugees. Work in the shadows. Some sell candy at traffic lights. Others sort through garbage or scrub floors in silence. Their laughter still echoes, but so does the struggle behind their eyes. In a country that faces so much pressure from outside, it keeps giving from within. So please tell us the answer. How do you measure kindness in a country under sanctions? 8. Tehran's secret: affordable living. Iran's bustling capital may surprise you, not just in its energy, but in how affordable it can be. While prices have risen in recent years, the overall cost of living is still far below what most Americans are used to. Let's start with housing. A 1-bedroom apartment in the center of Tehran rents for around $400 to $500 per month. Move to the outskirts, and that number can drop to $250. By comparison, a similar apartment in a U.S. city like Los Angeles or New York often costs over $3,000 a month, sometimes much more. Groceries and daily expenses also follow this pattern. A fresh loaf of bread might cost 20 cents, A hearty restaurant meal? Less than $5. Public transportation is clean, efficient, and shockingly cheap. Just a few cents per ride. A meal in Tehran costs just $5, cheaper than a cup of coffee in New York. In a world where the cost of living seems to rise faster than our paychecks, Tehran stands out. Life here may be different, but it's also grounded, manageable, and quietly dignified. Tehran offers a full, modern lifestyle without the crushing weight of debt. So let me ask you, with prices like these, how does it compare to where you live? Would you choose to settle here? 7. Women rule the market in Iran's south. In the sun-drenched province of Hormozgan, nestled near the southern coast of Iran, there's a marketplace unlike any other in the country, perhaps even the world. It's called Zanan Bazaar, and here, every shopkeeper, every voice behind the counter, every pair of eyes sizing up a bargain, belongs to a woman. Men can enter, men can shop, but they cannot sell. This is not rebellion, it's tradition. One quietly passed from mother to daughter, generation after generation. In a country often portrayed as restrictive toward women, this bazaar tells a different story. One of agency, pride, and a kind of quiet, everyday power. The women here run their stalls with skill. They haggle fiercely, smile sparingly, and know exactly what their goods are worth. From spices to textiles to handmade jewelry, everything carries not just a price, but a presence, the stamp of a woman who stands behind it. There are no speeches, no headlines, no marches, just the quiet rhythm of daily trade, guided by firm hands and unshakable pride. It's not loud, but it's lasting. Six, a forest that outlived the Ice Age. Along the misty slopes where the Alborz Mountains kiss the southern edge of the Caspian Sea, lies a forest so old it makes even our deepest family trees feel young. The Hyrcanian forest has stood for more than 50 million years. It has seen glaciers come and go. It watched the birth of civilizations and kept breathing through every storm history could throw its way. Here, nature is not just beautiful, it is resilient. The trees are layered like chapters in an ancient book. Each leaf a page, each root a memory buried deep. Scientists say this forest survived when most of Europe's greenery was wiped out in the last ice age. How? The Caspian Sea acted like a shield, wrapping the forest in a blanket of moisture and warmth, while the rest of the world froze. Within these woods roam creatures as rare as forgotten languages. Persian leopards, majestic, fierce, and nearly extinct. Move silently through the undergrowth, their golden eyes still watching the trails of their ancestors. Wolves, bears, jackals, red deer all live in quiet harmony under the green canopy. It is a living museum, a sanctuary that somehow still thrives despite climate change, deforestation, and time itself. But this place is more than trees and animals. It's home to people too. Small communities who live as their ancestors did, drawing herbs for healing, food for sharing, and stories for keeping the soul alive. In a world that's speeding up, they remain still. And in that stillness, they protect something we all may need one day: patience, balance, and reverence. 5. Carpets worth millions, woven by hand. In the world of art, some masterpieces hang in museums. Others lie quietly on the floor beneath your feet. The Persian carpet is not just a household item. It is a woven soul. Each one can take years, sometimes decades, to complete. Every thread is tied by hand. Every pattern holds a memory. And for centuries, these carpets have told the story of Iran. Not in words, but in color, texture, and time. The finest among them can fetch prices beyond imagination. In 2013, one carpet, the Clark sickle leaf, sold for over $33 million at auction in New York. But ask any weaver, and they'll tell you, its real value is not in the price, but in the patience. In Fars province, where this art began, women still sit beside wooden looms, passing down techniques their grandmothers once whispered by firelight. The dyes come from flowers, bark, and insects, all natural, all alive. No two carpets are the same. Each one is a fingerprint of human emotion, captured in silk and wool. Today, those looms are falling silent. The younger generation, drawn to screens, cities, and faster lives, sees little future in knots and yarn. And with each abandoned loom, a chapter of cultural memory quietly fades. 4. Strangers become family. Iran's warm welcome. In Iran, hospitality isn't a social nicety. It's a sacred duty. Whether you're a neighbor, a stranger, or a foreigner just passing through, the Iranian custom of ta'aruf teaches that guests must be treated with the highest honor. You may arrive empty-handed, but you will never leave with an empty stomach or an untouched heart. It's common for travelers to be invited into homes by people they've just met, not just for tea, but for a full meal: saffron rice, roasted eggplant, fresh herbs, and stews simmered for hours. And they won't let you pay, no matter how many times you try. That's not how it works here. One American backpacker once wrote about getting lost in Shiraz. A local shopkeeper not only gave him directions, but closed his store for the afternoon, walked him to the bus station, bought his ticket, and handed him a bag of fruit, just in case he got hungry. This isn't rare. It's the norm. In a world growing colder by the day, Iran remains a place where the door still opens wide, the tea still pours warm, and generosity flows without expectation. So ask yourself, when was the last time a stranger went out of their way to make you feel at home? You could come to Iran to feel it. 3. Food that warms the soul. Iranian food isn't loud. It doesn't shout on the plate. It whispers, with saffron rising through the steam, with slow-cooked lamb that falls apart under the touch of a spoon, and with rice so fragrant, it almost feels like perfume for the soul. This is food made by hands that know patience, by mothers and grandmothers who learned not from cookbooks, but from memory, smell, and love. Take cello kebab, the national dish. Tender skewers of grilled meat, served over rice cooked with a golden crust called tahdig, or fesenjan, a stew made from walnuts and pomegranate molasses, dark, sweet, and hauntingly rich. And let's not forget ash reshteh, a thick noodle soup, earthy with herbs and chickpeas, the kind of meal that makes winter feel warmer. But if you really want to taste Iran's heart, step outside, into the streets. That's where the magic happens. You'll find saffron-scented rice wrapped in warm flatbread, and grilled meats sizzling beside busy sidewalks. Vendors serve up steaming bowls of halim at sunrise, a thick porridge of wheat and shredded lamb, spiced just enough to wake the senses. In the afternoon, sambusas crisp in bubbling oil, while pomegranate juice is poured fresh over crushed ice. 2. Fire and festivities, Iran's joyful rituals. In Iran, festivals are not just days on the calendar. They are moments when the soul breathes. The most cherished of all is Nowruz, the Persian New Year, celebrated on the spring equinox. For over 3,000 years, families have gathered to welcome the light, the warmth, and the promise of renewal. They clean their homes, set a half-seen table with 7 symbolic items, and light candles to chase away darkness, not just from the house, but from the heart. Children receive coins, elders share stories, and neighbors visit one another with sweets in hand. and kindness in their voices. Parks fill with music, rivers glow with floating lanterns, and as fireworks bloom overhead, it feels less like celebration and more like collective healing. But Nowruz is just one of many. There's Chaharshanbe Suri, the fire-jumping festival where people leap over flames, shouting, "Give me your red, take away my yellow," a ritual to burn away sickness and invite health. In a country often seen through the lens of politics, Iran's festivals quietly remind the world of something else, the enduring joy of togetherness. Would you dare jump over fire like Iranians do during Chaharshanbe Suri? 1. Ancient roots, modern dreams. Today, when we think of Iran, many imagine deserts and ancient ruins. But step into its cities, and you'll see something else entirely. Tehran, Shiraz, Isfahan. These are not echoes of the past, but reflections of a modern, evolving society. The streets buzz with young people holding smartphones, sipping espresso in sleek cafes, coding in tech startups, and following global fashion trends beneath their headscarves. Iran's universities rank among the best in the region, producing scientists, engineers, and doctors who often move on to careers abroad. The country has its own satellites, advanced medical research, and a booming film industry that wins awards on international stages. Women drive, teach, manage companies. Men study art, literature, and design. And in between the traffic jams and ancient mosques, you'll find a generation that is both deeply rooted and endlessly forward-looking. The paradox is real. Tradition stands tall here, but modern life flows around it like water around stone. And perhaps that's what makes Iran so hard to define. It is old and new, silent and loud, constrained yet bursting with creative life. Thank you for taking the time to discover a side of Iran the world rarely shows. Your curiosity keeps these stories alive. We hope this journey left you not only informed, but inspired. Stay curious, stay open, and we'll see you in the next story.